Remember when you were a kid and you thought $20 was a lot of money? Well, I mean, at least I did. I remember those days. If I had $20, it literally felt like I had like $250 and I felt like I had a lot of money. I remember I had this bookshelf and I used to keep my money in my books so that it wouldn't get crumpled, and I used to like take it out and look at it, but then I would put it back so it didn't get like messed up, like folded or creased or anything like that. But with that little nostalgia trip out of the way, raise your hand if you hate the subscription model for services. Both your hands should be up right now, but if they're not, that's fine, I guess. Remember the days where you paid for something one time and it was yours forever? I do. When I was younger and I had my first stint on YouTube, I remember buying Sony Vegas and it was just a one-time thing. Photoshop back in the day was a one-time purchase. Now I have to pay Adobe like $200 a year or $150 a year to be able to access Photoshop, Lightroom, and have 20 gigs of cloud storage. And you know what? I get it. Paying developers isn't free. Adobe's cloud storage servers and other things like that aren't free. The infrastructure to upkeep, their services aren't free. But at least give me an option here. Give me the option to buy Photoshop outright and not get updates. And then if I want to be able to get Photoshop 2024, either I buy it again for, what was it, like $400 or $500 back then. That's a way better consumer-friendly option for a lot of people. Give people the option to buy it outright. It's not like everybody's gonna buy it outright and you're gonna lose money, because you have people like me who use the software on a daily basis, and I'd wanna get updates, so I'll probably still use the subscription model. But for someone that wants to learn Photoshop on their free time, like once a month or whatever the case is, giving consumers a choice, in my opinion, is always the better option. It's the same for like Spotify and stuff like that too. When you think about it, for most services, you're basically renting the service, which has no benefit for the consumer. You're giving the company your money and your hard-earned money, actually. And at the end of the day, you don't even get to say that you own the product, because the company still has like rights and stuff like that to the music. But you can still buy like CDs if people still buy those, and you could still buy music on Apple Music and stuff. So it's not like you're getting the short end of the deal 100% of the time. Get what I'm saying? Anyway, after that long rant, today I wanted to talk about the new way that I'm looking at money for 2023. And I know this is gonna sound weird, but just hear me out before anything. Anyway, like I said, I hate subscriptions, but I'm gonna start looking at things I buy as a subscription in an effort to buy higher quality items this year. So let's say I spend $900 on this jacket, and let's say that I use the jacket for 10 years. In 10 years, there are 120 total months. So if I take $900 and I divide it by 120, then I get a value of $7.50. That means that if I use this jacket for 10 years, it's gonna passively cost me $7.50 a month, but it's already paid for. But I know what you might be saying right now, and that's the fact that I said that I hate subscriptions, so why would I look at it like you're paying for another subscription? And I think there are two ways to answer that question. One, if you're a person that just looks at how cheap or expensive something is, then I think looking at the subscription model is the more beneficial option, because something will cost less over time. But I think the more logical way to look at it is that it gives you incentive to buy the more expensive thing, because there's a higher chance of it lasting longer. Put it this way, I bought my Dyson vacuum in 2019 for $500, and I made a whole video which you can watch right up here. But at this point, it's only costing me $11 a month, and on top of that, as time goes on, the cost of the item over time gets lower and lower. I really hope that made sense, because it made sense in my head, but the premise is that I think for things like vacuums and furniture and other things like that, it's better to get the higher quality one, even if it's more expensive, because like I said, chances are it'll last longer. There's a saying that goes, buy it nice or buy it twice. There's obviously a point of diminishing return, because let's say that there's a chair that costs $2,000. Does that mean a $4,000 chair is twice as comfortable, or it'll last twice as long? Because I don't think it'll necessarily work like that. I can go buy a camera for $10,000, but that doesn't mean it'll be twice as better as my current camera. I think there's also a big benefit to buying higher quality things if they're gonna make you money, because then the cost over time goes down even more, and then you eventually get to a point where you're making money with the item. If I go and buy this camera right now for $5,000 and then I get 5 $1,000 jobs with this camera, the camera just paid for itself and everything after that is just profit that I'm making off the camera. Now, this can't be done for everything, but I hope that you get what I'm trying to say. There's a really good subreddit called Buy It For Life. I'll link it down below. And people go on there and they ask for recommendations for things to buy for life. You know, you have people sharing things like their pots from the 70s, which are 50 years old at this point. Someone's grandma has a fridge from World War II. And, you know, just other things like that that have lasted a really long time. People go on there for basically anything that's high quality, and overall it's a really good subreddit to look at for things that are high quality and people that have tested and put through its paces and can be confirmed that they last a long time. The premise of this video, I guess, is that I don't think you should be afraid to buy the more expensive item if you think it'll last longer than the previous item. But as I usually say, buy what you can afford. Don't go into debt to buy something that's higher quality, because if that item somehow malfunctions before you can pay it off or whatever the case is, then you've already bought one of the expensive items, then you don't have that much spending money available, so you have to buy one of the cheap ones, then maybe the cheap one breaks sooner, and you can see how it quickly spirals out of control. So that's basically it. That's how I'm gonna start looking at money, because I hate paying for subscriptions, so I'm gonna look at everything as a subscription, but at the same time, I'm not gonna be opposed to buying the higher quality item if it means that it'll last longer. And as always, thanks for watching.